Let me have a Diablo sandwich, a Dr. Pepper. Make it fast. I'm in a goddamn hurry.
Quiet, numbskulls. I'm broadcasting.
Hey kids, welcome to Grumpy Nostalgia, the Second Look Cinema podcast, the show where we go back to that blockbuster new release wall of our memory, we grab a copy off a shelf, we pop it in our VCR, and we see what time has done to it. I'm Little Enos, that's Big Enos.
Boys are thirsty in Atlanta.
And together we're here to help you navigate all those landmines littered down memory lane. So Mike, every once in a while in the annals of our podcast, we come across a doozy that we figured... We say, why haven't we covered this yet?
I know. This movie is a touchstone of culture. You know,
yes, exactly. It certainly has the most banjos of any movie we've covered so far, which I think we're on the right track. So
that's right.
Guys, we're going to talk about a really big one, believe it or not, in the annals of film history. This is right up there with the biggest of them. We're going to talk about 1977 Smokey and the Bandit.
That's right. Never mind them brakes.
Sorry, are you tired of eastbound and down yet, Mike? Good God. All right, so let's kind of jump in because we got a long way to go, Mike, and blah blah blah.
I got the rest. Yeah.
All right, so there you go. All right, so this was directed by a guy named Hal Needham, who was actually the stuntman for Burt Reynolds in a lot of earlier movies. Might lay claim to some of this movie's value, but we'll go on.
Yeah.
He was a stunt coordinator for Cannonball Run, which we're going to get to here shortly, I hope. It was, I use the term loosely here, written, in air quotes at least, by the same guy, Hal Needham. It was also co-written by a guy named Robert Levy, who also wrote Cannonball Run, and James Barrett, who wrote a lot of 50s TV, a lot of 60s television. And, of course, Mike, this was adapted from the novel by James Joyce. So.
Of course, yeah, with a preamble by Oscar Wilde, I'm sure.
Exactly. This had a $4.3 million budget, and it was released on May 27th, 1977. That's an important week, and we'll probably get to that here a little later.
Yes. Okay.
So, Mike, let's just make short work of this. Let's talk about the thespians charged to portray this masterwork to the screen. So, why don't you run us through the cast?
Well, the Bandit is, of course, Burt Reynolds. This is peak. I would say this is peak Burt Reynolds. I don't think there's any movie that exudes, the Burt Reynolds kind of mystique other than this. This was, there were a lot of movies like it that he did afterwards, and there was a couple before, but this was, like I say, this is the swagger, the confidence. You got everything in this, in this one, and. You got Smokey, who is Jackie Gleason in this picture. Comedy, kind of villainous foil to Burt Reynolds' Bandit. And he's the one chasing him down. And he's known more for his TV roles like The Honeymooners and The Show of Shows. And I think he did he was a CBS guy all the way, but he did like variety shows in there in the 50s. And he was in one good movie, The Hustler, opposite Paul Newman. Fantastic movie, but then you think about his movie career, like post Smokey and the Bandit, which he really wasn't in a lot of movies, but there's not too many good ones. Movie like The Toy comes to mind. But in this movie, he's fantastic, and there's the girl. There's a girl that's picked up by the Bandit named Frog, who's played by Sally Field. Fantastic actress, of course. I think. More than anybody, and Jackie Gleason, of course, stands out the most. But as far as kind of giving this movie some gravitas, it would be Sally Field. It's perfect casting. She's not somebody who's like total eye candy, like Farrah Fawcett or something at the time. Yeah. But there's that sassiness to her, and she's attractive, and it makes a good kind of comic character for this movie. Right. Then you have Snowman, who is played by Jerry Reed. Jerry Reed's one of those guys. He's an acquired taste. He's in that class of guys from the 70s that are. It was odd because they're kind of that Glenn Campbell, Eddie Rabbitt guys that were like really good songwriters and really good at playing guitar. Jerry Reed was known for his style of guitar playing called like chicken picking. which is kind of hillbillyish, but a lot of them were just like spoken word songs. He wrote a lot of good music. He wrote for Elvis, but he appears in all these TV shows in the 70s. He's in like Scooby Doo. He's in Mama's Family in the 80s. And he just makes an appearance as Jerry Reed. He always plays himself. Even in this movie, he plays himself. There's numerous jokes in this movie about how he could possibly be a country singer. It's like, okay, we get it. We get the joke. Thank you, Hal. There's also appearance by Paul Williams, and Pat McCormick. Speaking of weird 70s thing, 70s were a weird decade. Here you could have a guy that's basically like, I don't know how tall Paul Williams was. He's known for being kind of a dwarf guy, but a great songwriter. But again, he made all these weird appearances like on The Love Boat or Fantasy Island or The Muppet Show. He even wrote the song The Rainbow Connection, if you can believe it or not. And he wrote some fabulous music for the Carpenters and for Barbra Streisand. And here he is playing this little Enos character in this movie as a kind of a clownish brother character of Pat McCormick. Another weird 70s kind of thing. This Pat McCormick was not really known for being a famous actor, but the guy was on everything. He's in every TV show you can think of in the 70s, along with like game shows like Match Game and Hollywood Squares. And I think more people would know him from being like on game shows than from anything. Although this is probably his most famous movie, even though he's not really in it that much. And
there are two scenes at the beginning and the end. That's it.
Exactly. They bookend the movie perfectly. And then, of course, you have Mike Henry, who's Sheriff Jackie Gleason's son in this movie. He's kind of the, I don't know what to really call him other than kind of a putz. He plays, the yes daddy, no daddy, and he's just a target for Jackie Gleason's insults. It's great. But he's a former NFL player. He played for Pittsburgh and the Rams.
Yeah.
He was also, I think he played like Tarzan. And he was
he was Tarzan, yeah.
He was in another Burt Reynolds movie, The Longest Yard, as one of the guards. And, here he shows up in another Burt Reynolds movie. So, God bless him. So there you go. There's your cast.
Easily one of my favorite characters in the movie. Just his deadpan delivery. He spends most of the movie just kind of sleeping.
I know, and you would never know. Like, this guy was pretty famous in the 50s and the 60s.
He's just left at the altar, just taking it really well.
Yeah.
Let's get to that here in a minute. All right, so thank you, Mike, very much. Just some notes about the cast and the subsequent making of the film. So, of course, Burt Reynolds and Sally Field started to foster a relationship just about the time this movie started. They were boyfriend, girlfriend. Little nepotism played in there. I don't know. This is one of Alfred Hitchcock's favorite movies, one of his guilty pleasure movies. You mentioned Jackie Gleason here. Just every line he says is pretty much quotable.
I gotta barbecue your ass in molasses.
Basically improv his entire script. All his lines were just out of Jackie Gleason's mouth. He was a pretty heavy drinker at this point in his life, and he constantly had his production assistant close by, and he would call out, "I need a hamburger," which was code for a vodka tonic.
Oh wow!
So he ate a lot of hamburgers on this movie.
Yeah,
if you look at every scene, he's got this glazed over look in his eyes. He's in the bag the entire movie. You can just tell. There were eight Trans-Ams used for the filming of this movie. Burt Reynolds was actually promised one by the film's producer if this movie turned out to be a hit, but he never paid up. Of course, Mike, because when the movie was released, the producer took another job in another studio, and the guy that came in behind him said, "I don't know what you're talking about. Get out of here." So that's not cool. But as a result of that Trans-Am sales doubled.
Yeah.
In 1978. Everybody had to have one of those. It's also responsible for the explosion of the CB radio phenomenon, Mike.
Yeah, I was wondering if this was post Convoy, but Convoy was such a dud of a movie. It didn't have the attraction of this movie, so I figured this kind of brought the appeal of CB a little bit better than that. Yeah,
I just kind of implemented some CB culture that just kind of stained our nation for a few years. How Jim Stafford was in this movie, I'll never know. So speaking of people in movies they don't belong, this came out, of course, on May 27th, 2 days after a little film called Star Wars debuted, Mike. Of course, this wasn't seen as any kind of real competition to this high, valued studio release because Star Wars was basically an independent movie. a small little rollout, about 13 theaters when it first started. So wasn't seen as a big threat, but there's more to the story, of course. Other movies in the theaters when this movie came out, you had Annie Hall, Airport 77, The
Oh, wow.
Deep, and Benji the Hunted. Well, these are all movies in
Oh,
the
Benji.
multiplayer. Yeah.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Benji, For the Love of Benji
Yeah.
was
Oh,
out.
okay.
So much different story. I guess. Who knows? The box office was really big that year, of course. This is an epic year for film. Star Wars was the number one, of course, followed closely by Close Encounters, Saturday Night Fever, The Spy Who Loved Me, and this movie here, Smokey and the Bandit, came in number 5. So
Wow.
that is a murderer's row.
That is a lineup right there.
That's a hell of a lineup. Yeah. Best picture that year was Annie Hall. We had to be doing something other than just watching movies that summer, right, Mike? So we were listening to the radio a lot. And so these were the songs that were on the radio the week that this movie came out. This is a Sessions Presents section here, Mike. When I Need You by Leo.
Leo. Yeah.
Greatest white man afro to grace the 70s of all time. I'm Your Boogeyman.
Turn me on.
Feels Like the First Time by Foreigner. Just letting everybody know that Lou Graham is still not dead.
Yes. Chess King.
Keeping the streak alive. Keeping the Southern culture on the Skids theme here. You had Southern Nights by Glenn Campbell, who you just mentioned, Mike.
Southern nights, have you ever felt a southern night? Yeah.
And the Steve Miller Band had the Jet Airliner.
Don't carry me too far away.
Big old Jet had a light on, as is often misheard.
Well, how about this song, Eastbound and Down? And I always thought it was He Found a Dime, loaded up in trucking. You know what I mean? When I was a kid, I swear it was He Found a Dime. I had no idea what Eastbound and Down even was.
I'm probably never going to unhear that, so thank you very much.
There you go.
So what else was going on that year, Mike? We were sprawling little 6-year-olds, if I'm not mistaken. So we were playing with the new Atari 2600 that had just been released that summer, so that was fun. Getting our asteroids and our combat on. This was the year that Dungeons and Dragons was released.
Wow.
A phenomenon that I kind of embraced about 5 years later and never let go of. We were all reading The Shining and The Thornbirds. Went back when we used to read. This was the year that Larry Linville quit MASH, Mike. No more Frank Burns.
Almost as good a career move as McLean Stevenson.
Well, he had a 5-year contract, and they wanted him up for 2 more. And he said, "Well, you know what? The show's getting a little too preachy. It's not fun anymore. I'm not in with Houlihan anymore. I really got nowhere to go." So he decided to go on and do other things. But I can kind of understand that. But it made way for Charles Emerson Winchesters, and there you go, Mike. The Yankees won the World Series that year. Good for them. Who cares? This was the year they had the final episode of the Brady Bunch, Mike.
Wow.
Which had jumped the shark quite earlier. When all the kids weren't cute anymore, and
there was no more Vincent Price in Hawaii.
Exactly. And they had to do that thing where all sitcoms do, where they bring in a fresh new kid.
Oliver, yes.
The creepy little Oliver that everybody hated his guts on. But I always liked that last season of the Brady Bunch because Robert Reed had just really gone full hippie. He just did not look at all like the clean cut architect bachelor that we met so many years earlier.
That's right. He'd given it all up by that point. I think I think right after the show ended, they started the Brady Bunch Variety Hour, which was a turkey of a show. Anyone out there ever watches an episode of that, God bless you. It's impossible to sit through. The levels of cringe are just incredible.
It made the Sonny and Cher show look like high art.
Oh yeah, it is amazingly bad.
So just a few notes on the cast before we head on here. So Sally Field took the role, but she didn't see the script because there wasn't really one.
I was going to say
we'll kind of get to that here as we can kind of go. Jackie Gleason's role was originally offered to Richard Boone, but he turned it down to go do one of my favorite things of all time, the TV movie The Last Dinosaur. Mike, I don't even remember that one or not. But
another big drinker, Richard Boone. If you
he was pretty
Yeah.
well toasted for this as well. He played like a billionaire, big game hunter that went to an island to shoot a T-Rex.
Well-known alcoholic.
It was a Rankin and Bass movie, and I think this movie is probably more infamous for the dinosaur here was like this big rubber puppet, and there's a scene early in the movie where this boulder smashes on its head and puts a dent in the rubber, and they didn't have the wherewithal to like fix it or even see it. So there's the dinosaur in this movie has this big stop motion dent in his head. This just cracks me up. So, have gun will travel, Mike.
Have gun will travel reads the card of a man. A knight without armor in a savage land. His fast gun for hire, he's the calling wind. A soldier of fortune, he's a man called Paladin.
So there you go. So speaking of traveling, let's make our way from Texarkana to Georgia and just kind of figure out how this epic road movie was brought to the screen, Mike. So I'm ready to go. You ready to hit the theater?
I got my ears on.
All right. When I go to channel 21, you go to 19. It's very simple, Mike. All right, Mike, if you would please hit the button. So your standard stock footage is banjo picking music to start the opening credits. That kind of you get that fast action font showing all the quick names and everything, and it opens up with these two rich billionaires, father and son, Pat McCormick and Paul Williams, respectively, Big Enos and Little Enos. They're looking for Burt Reynolds because they're looking to they're looking for this really kind of groundbreaking original idea for a plot, Mike. They want to hire Bandit here, in this case Burt Reynolds, because they're having issues with bootlegging, Mike. They're trying to get Coors beer east of Texas, east of the Mississippi, Mike. And you can kind of see how this is a really critical plot device they've already employed here. It should be taken very seriously, don't you think?
Yes. Yeah, the boys are thirsty in Atlanta, and these two rich guys show up and wanted to have. They show somebody get arrested. That's the first thing you see in the movie is a truck driver getting arrested for trying to carry Coors over the state line. So they establish it right away.
The sense of danger. Yeah.
Yes, that you could get jail time for bootlegging. Wow. And whatever. Okay, I get it. These guys are just doing this for a lark, and
Their justification is they've got some guy running the Southern 500, and when he wins, he wants to celebrate with Coors beers. And I don't think Coors is the redneck beer of choice, Mike. I'm pretty sure, even back then, but who knows? But we're splitting hairs already. So they finally track down Burt, and they make his proposal. They're willing to pay him $80,000, Mike, which is the equivalent of about $350,000 in today's economy. So it was well worth their time. So he decides he'll take the job for that kind of money, but he needs a partner, Mike. This is a 2-man job, of course. So he needs his friend Cletus to pitch in. Snowman, Mike.
Snowman.
Played here by our friend Jerry Reed. He runs to his house, makes fun of his wife, annoys his kids, and wakes him up out of bed and tells him he's just got a new job.
Yeah, some of the lines he uses are a little would be considered a little dated. Calling the children house apes and asking the mom if she's trying to create a new race. I mean, I was like, okay,
well,
you know what you're getting into.
She had like 15 kids. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, Jerry Reed's been busy, huh?
He told her she was ugly too. So that's good. Yeah. But he comes in and steals her husband, and they go out and perform this wonderful task, Mike. I never did understand why he had to be a blocker to the truck hauling the beer. I don't understand what the strategic impact of that was.
I don't know that name, that particular term. I was thinking, okay, he's running interference. He wants the cops to go after him instead of the truck. That's what I was thinking. But I didn't understand. I guess it's like like an NFL or football term for you're blocking for the running back or whatever. I don't know.
I was hoping at some point this high concepts plot would explain that.
Yes.
But they had to get on the road and get going. So
there's a lot of CB terminology that's just not in the liner notes for this movie that I would insist on them producing.
I was hoping that kind of period of our life would just die a slow death. But every time this movie comes on, I want to flush it back out again. So, breaker. So they go to Texarkana relatively, without incident. They go there and they basically just steal all the beer, Mike, because they couldn't be bothered to load up this, this well thought out plan. They couldn't have anybody on hand to unload the beer, apparently. And there's some comic stylings with the forklift there that we'll just kind of gloss over. So they load up the truck that's owned by Jerry Reed, and they turn right around. They head back to Georgia, Mike.
Yeah.
And then hilarity ensues, shall we say? But for some reason, he's driving 110 miles an hour,
Right.
in his Trans Am, and I don't think his hauler can. I don't think a semi can maintain that pace. Do you, Mike? But
There's a lot of geography and time questions I would put into this, but I got to the point where I was like, no way, I can't do this. Like you said, you just said it a minute ago. High art, high concept. I couldn't do it after that. It was like, okay, they're given 27, 28 hours, right?
Right.
And they say 900 miles in the movie, which is a lie. We have the ability now, 49 years later, to put it in our Google and find out, hey, the distance from Atlanta to Texarkana is only about 660.
Yeah.
Which even on back roads, going a little bit over the speed limit is 10 hours. So you think, okay. And then you're watching the movie, you're like, why is he going 110? I mean, he's really being, he's supposed to be a blocker. He's not supposed to be a magnet for Smokies. He's supposed to be like trying to sneak through this. Why not go just a little bit over the speed limit? You've got plenty of time.
I had the same thoughts in my head, and then I realized that I could start to feel my frontal lobe start to dissolve, and I'm like, wait a minute, what am I doing here? Enough. But yeah, you're right. All right, so they got the beer, so now they got to come back and haul it back. So I guess the best way to do that is just to drive, like I said, 100 miles an hour in a Trans Am and have all the Smokies chasing you instead of the truck. But so that starts the film's notorious second act, which is just lots of car chases and basically just entirely reckless driving. Like they're going inane speeds around blind corners, crossing double lines. Someone should have died here, Mike. But
yeah, they're a little reckless driving through like little kids' football fields,
or just off jumping bridges and all that good stuff. But in the middle of the movie here, Burt Reynolds comes across a car on the side of the road. It says "Just Married" on it, and he picks up Sally Field, who's unexplained left there by herself. And like these three guys come out of the woods and start changing the tire. What was that? I don't understand that transition whatsoever, Mike.
I feel like something was on the editing room floor.
I think they skipped the scene here.
Yeah, maybe so.
But she jumps out of the car in her wedding dress and just jumps in Bandit's car and says drive. So now we've got Sally Field joining the party, Mike. And then out of the woods, not a few miles away, enters a cop car, and it's got Junior in it, dressed in his groom attire, Mike, and he's accompanied by the driver, which in this case is his father, and it's Jackie Gleason playing a sheriff, Buford T. Justice, Mike, and he's outraged that his beloved son has been left at the altar, and he realizes that these three hoodlums that come change the tire for her saw Bandit take off with her. And he won't have that, Mike, because he's Buford T. Justice.
That's right.
The craziest sumbitch ever lived, Mike. So
of Portague County or whatever.
That's right. Legendary officer of the law.
I happen to be Buford T. Justice, a distinguished officer of over 30 years seniority.
And he's made it his mission now to chase down this bandit, Mike. Not because he's hauling beer, but because he's absconded with Junior's bride.
And he spent $40 to decorate the town, by golly.
So speaking of 40, the next 40 minutes of the movie are just this big long chase scene. And it's a lot of repetitive stuff, Mike. They chase him for a little bit, they stop, they get a sandwich. They just miss him, and they get in the car and run away. And by this time, there's some local lore has kind of come up where people are aware of this plot, and apparently the newly entrenched CB community that had taken over the U.S. at this point felt it obligated to pitch in and help the bandit complete his journey, Mike.
Yeah, he ends up finding a lot of friends out there in the fledgling CB community. And who would have thunk how many people had these radios? It's crazy.
Yeah. A funeral procession actually has the guy driving the hearse has a CB, which is convenient.
That's right.
Other truckers are pitching in, giving Bandit and Snowman tips and tricks and ways to avoid the authorities, and that basically just that's the middle hour of the movie, Mike. And then, oh boy, it kind of. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to do here, but
no, there's a lot of. It's think of the last.
I don't know why we're trying to get serious here.
No, think of the last 20 minutes of the Blues Brothers, and you have an hour, at least hour and 15 minutes of the Smokey and the Bandit movie.
Right,
but this is, again, we've talked about this with other movies. You almost have to be like you have to be a little kid in 1977 watching this movie, and thinking, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many car wrecks. I've never seen cop cars, jump off bridges and go into water." I mean, it was
right
at the time. I know we had movies like Bullet and a couple other action movies like that with really cool car chases, but to see like all these cop cars get wrecked, it was just glorious.
It was spectacle. So they end the 40-minute chase scene, which is the conclusion of the movie, with one big finale where, of course, Mike, you don't think they're going to make it, Mike, and they get to the end. There's this big roadblock at the end, and they're getting chased by the Smokies. They're going to put them in the pokey, Mike, and Bandit gets on the radio and tells Snowman, "I'm sorry, pal, but I don't think we're going to make it." And Jerry Reed says, he won't have that, Mike.
No.
He just decides he's going to make it work. So his great plan to avoid this big roadblock, and I like the fact that they put a big roadblock in here because the previous 1,400 were so successful. But Jerry Reed just puts the pedal to the metal, of course, and he just makes a left turn in front of the big roadblock there, Mike. And it turns out conveniently that was just the way to go anyway, because that was like free and clear to the finish line. So that was convenient. So.
Yeah, and it was a clear path all the way to the Southern 500 or whatever they were going to.
So they drive right up to the concourse, right in the middle of the infield, the big NASCAR race there, Mike, and they meet Big Enos and Little Enos. We've almost forgot about them. It's been so long, so we barely remember whether they're even in the movie. But they make their delivery, and they offload, and they ask for their cash, and little Paul Williams says. He had his kind of standing rivalry with Bandit at the beginning. He says, "Well, how about double or nothing? You go to Boston and get us some clam chowder." I'm like, what? What the? Are you kidding me? What's the whole point of the movie? They're supposed to get this big $80,000. They say, "Okay, and just get in the car and drive up to Boston," and that's the movie.
There you go. And in the freeze frame, Junior chasing his daddy's car.
Yeah, by this time, of course, the car has been just like demolished, and Jackie Gleason is defeated, but there's a little bit of mutual respect there at the end, and assuring that everybody will carry that over to the sequel, which there ultimately was. We'll get that here in a minute, but that's the movie, Mike.
There you go.
And you turn on Eastbound and Down again, and I don't know, in 1977, you walked out of the theater just grinning ear to ear. Grinning like a pack of possum eating a sweet potato, Mike.
That's right. I had our molasses. Yeah, I had a 45 of this song back in the day. You know what the B-side of it was?
I can only imagine.
It was Jerry Reed doing the title was a takeoff on the Moody Blues song, but it was called "I'm Just a Redneck in a Rock and Roll Bar."
And please tell me you still have this.
I'm gonna have my brother would have it. He got my 45s for me, but he probably does still have it. So I need to dig it up. But yeah, it's not the same tune as the Moody Blues song, but yeah, it's that the title was what you.
All right, guys, stick around on the broadcast. We will play an excerpt from that song just to settle everybody's nerves.
There you go. No, you can't.
All right, so let's talk about nerve. Let's talk about awards and accolades here, Mike. So this was kind of released before they really counted the weekend releases here, but did not have an international release, but ended up doing $126 million in its domestic release.
Holy crap!
And that's for 1977 now. So that's multiply that number by about 6 today, and that's what that's equivalent to. So this was huge.
Yeah,
it's in the top 20 films of all time, adjusted for inflation. So I don't know, that says a lot to our culture or whatever. But there you go. It got an Oscar nomination for editing, but it lost to Star Wars. Sally Field got a Golden Globe nomination for Best Supporting Actress, but she lost to a tie that year with Diane Keaton for Annie Hall and Marsha Mason for The Goodbye Girl.
Oh.
Which is a great movie. We should probably cover it.
I was going to say Richard Dreyfuss was a busy guy at that time.
Yeah.
Wow. Editing. That's interesting that they. I mean, if there's one thing I could say about this movie, I do not have a good trained eye for what is good editing. Yeah. It seemed to flow very well. I would say that, but you were talking about the screenplay earlier, dude. It was so obvious that so many of these lines were ad-libbed. And
yeah,
I know that's a Hal Needham trademark, and at least in the Cannonball Run, where he basically puts two actors and trains a camera on them, and they're supposed to have a conversation and just make it funny.
Yeah, just come up with something while you're
at it. So. And it's like the actors try to crack each other up during the scene. Like when one time we see Burt Reynolds, and Jackie Gleason together, and he's wiping the little muss off his tie there. You could just tell they were trying to keep in character. Or the scene between Jerry Reed and Burt Reynolds talking about what CB line they should be on or channel. It's so painfully obvious that they're just set up to fail. It's like Hal Needham's like, "Come on, guys! I know you're going to crack up." It's like
like this whole movie was filmed for the blooper reel.
Yeah, exactly. I'm shocked. I know they did it in the Cannonball Run movies, but I'm shocked it wasn't into this because
I will guarantee you that Jerry Reed had no lines in this script. They didn't even bother. They didn't even waste the lead with the pencil putting him on the page. It was, but the whole movie had that. I'll kind of get to that more when I talk about my assessment of the film. But it had several sequels, Mike, of diminishing value. Each one. I don't think I've seen any of them. I probably have. I think Burt Reynolds bailed out, but I think the second one he was in the second one. I think he bailed out for the third one.
Okay.
And I think notoriously they just filmed the car, but I think he's implied that he was there, or was it Jerry Reed driving it?
I think Jerry Reed is the star, but I think Burt Reynolds appears as like a floating head. You know what I mean? Like as a voice. Seriously, it's like it's vaguely coming back to me. I have never seen the full Smokey Man Part 3. But I do remember Burt Reynolds making brief appearances as kind of like this voice in Jerry Reed's head, or as like somebody will have to correct me on this, but he's like a floating entity in this movie. I swear
that had to be comprised of entirely of like additional footage for the previous movie.
I'm sure.
I can't see Burt running to come back for that. So. There was a 1999 proposed remake for this that was the studio wanted to put together with a younger cast. They wanted to put a little more sex in there. Matthew McConaughey was actually kind of teased to play the bandit here, which I could see that, I suppose.
Yeah.
But thankfully that fell through and never materialized.
I was going through like the kind of the Rolodex in my head if this movie had ever been remade, and I don't think it had. And I'm genuinely shocked. This, especially if like you mentioned the box office numbers this got originally, that this movie wasn't repurposed or whatever.
Well, I think thematically it's been remade about 100 times, but
sure.
But the actual plot, not so much.
I mean, the idea of people like transporting beer over state lines is like just such a foreign.
Has there ever been a movie where that's been the basis for the plot? I think he brought it up like 100 years ago. He's like, the whole plot of this movie is just for drinking beer on the East Coast. I'm like, what the hell? Yeah,
I know. As a kid, you're watching it, you had no idea what the hell that was. You just wanted to see car wrecks and stuff. But it's like, they're doing what? About what?
All right, so speaking of what, all that really matters about this podcast is how we feel about the movie, Mike. So let's transition to our grumpy meter. This is the section of our podcast, which is kind of the premise where we go back and review these movies we watched in our formative years as young film fans. And then we kind of watch them again through the eyes of grumpy old jerks to see how our opinions change on them one way or the other. I think this is right for the picking, Mike. So why don't you tell us about this first watch back in the 70s and your most recent watch and what things you kind of noticed and, what changed one way or the other, Mike. So take it away.
I saw this as a kid in the theater. I loved it, but I was 6 years old, as we said earlier. From then on, I've seen parts of it. I used to have friends that would quote it constantly, especially, when I get home, I want to punch your mom in the mouth was one of my favorite lines. But yeah, this was second time of watching it was basically yesterday. That movie is so ingrained, especially in this area and far as a culture and stuff. I knew people personally that actually bought Firebirds just because they were in this movie, like I said, the idea behind it, I had no clue what the hell, what bringing Coors Light meant to bring it over here. I was like, well, yeah, okay, that's whatever. But like I said, just the idea there was this guy being chased by the cops in that damn song. That song is probably as iconic as the movie itself, along with the car. And
it's a toe tapper. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I have a love-hate relationship because the movie itself is very entertaining. The second time watching it, I was like, wow, okay, I can see why it flows great. I mean, there's a couple of spots in there, like the biker fight with Jerry Reed and smashing the bikes with his truck. That was kind of bizarre scene, but
I hate to interrupt, but this was the oddest scene in the movie for me because it was kind of quick cuts, right? Scenes didn't really last long, but for some reason they decided to
they lingered on it
They lingered on Jerry Reed getting beat up, and he sits down and he gets up and he's got his face all bloodied, and the camera sits there for like a minute and a half. Yeah, and he just walks to his car, and someone throws Fred the dog in his truck. And he takes off. I guess the sell was that he was going to run all over the motorcycles on the way out. But I couldn't understand what is going on here. I mean, what it just freaked me out. The tempo of the movie just stops for this one odd scene. It's like, what the hell? But,
it could have been, like you say, it could have been shortened down where he just they insult him and he just runs over their bikes and goes yeehaw, and rides off. Yeah. But the fight and everything, I was like, okay, that was weird. But as far as the legacy of this movie, it created the Cannonball Run movies, which I love them or hate them, which I don't really like them. I think more than anything, and this is a big bold statement for me, this movie kind of shined a light on Southern culture and be it good or bad. And for more than anything, you think about this movie and what it kind of birthed. I mean, there'd be no Dukes of Hazzard, if it wasn't for this movie. There'd be no. I don't think there would have been a movie even 9 to 5 or the rebirth of a lot of the country music, like the song "The Gambler" becoming a mainstream hit. I just think a lot of I don't know, I'm probably putting too much weight into a silly movie. But are these justifications or apologies? This is what I just told you. I'm torn. This is I do not like a lot of the stuff that was birthed from this movie, and I think a lot of that stuff was like that. I mean, I hated Dukes of Hazzard. Let's just say it. I know I'm from here, but it was a silly, dumb show, and like I said, I'm watching Smokey and the Bandit now. I'm like, it's your fault, Hal Needham. You did this. You did this. You created this whole genre of redneck sheriffs going after good old boys, and I do not like that. But the movie itself, just in a bubble and a vacuum, not a bad flick. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was well done. Like I said, watching it now, you kind of see more of it's just so loosely put together. As maybe back then you're watching, oh wow, this was really tight. This is really good editing. This is really well made. But now watching, I'm like, these guys just seem to have gotten together and just said, okay, y'all wreck that car over there, and drive really fast, turn there. Okay, let's have a scene about Sally Field's nice ass. Okay, go. And that was. I feel like a lot of those. There were a lot of scenes like that. They were well joined together, but they were just set pieces. And Good movie, but the legacy of it's a little gross.
Okay, well that's a good take, Mike. So I'm not too far away from you. So I watched this movie when I was a little kid because I had to. My memories of it, my first watch are very hazy. I think it was probably an edited for TV version, like an ABC Sunday night movie, most likely. And I laughed at it because there was like a lot of silly like Three Stooges type, violence and chases and things like that. So I mean, this is stuff you talk with your friends at a grade school, or the middle school, or junior high the next day, and talk about how fun it was. But I guess not to sound too pretentious. There's a cultural impact here as well. I kind of want to explore because I watched this. Where I grew up was just suburban Chicago, but it was still central Illinois, and most of Illinois, south of those suburbs, is pretty rural and pretty southern. To quote your vernacular there, Mike. A lot of people. A lot of good old boys in Southern Illinois. And I watched this in college because there's, of course, you watch anything in college because there's nothing to do. And I watched this with a lot of my peers that were from that rural area of Southern Illinois. And it impressed upon me how much they enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. It was representative of them, I guess, was where I'm looking for. I just thought it was kitsch. But that was like kind of my transition thing. When I watched this thing a couple of days ago, by myself after living in the South for about 25 years. It made a whole lot more sense to me. The portrayal of Southern culture and Southern pride and how they have their own kind of value system, and almost kind of sense of humor. And I could see how that kind of came through a little bit. But it did seem just basically just really kind of improvised, to your point, Mike. The scenes were not structured. They were just kind of thrown together. There were some scenes where I had to figure out how hard were they really trying here,
Yeah, but it's and just to kind of amend my statement a little bit, it's unstructured, but the fact they had such a strong personality like Jackie Gleason and even Burt Reynolds to provide swagger. I mean, they even as drunk as Jackie Gleason might have been, his lines are so memorable and so well delivered as a Southern, quote, sheriff. It's just amazing.
Yeah, that's the saving grace for me, is because, like, as primitive or as non-cultured, I guess you want to use that word, as it is, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It sets up the story, and the story is resolved when A goes to B. Mm-hmm. And you've got these personalities like Reynolds, of course, and Jackie Gleason. Really, I mean, every line he says is quotable to this day. Yeah. It ends up being just a very good chase movie, and these two star vehicles drive the plot all the way to the end. Mm-hmm. So I guess it kind of succeeds in spite of itself, because I laughed a lot in spite of myself. I cracked up at quite a few things here, but it's silly. But it made me think about resorting to, like, the first time I saw it back in 1978 or whatever. It made a 7-year-old kid really laugh and really want to get a car, really get a fast car, because this car was so iconic. It just kind of stood out, and they made every kid wanted that Matchbox. They wanted that model. They wanted, whenever they got on their bike, they were driving Bandit's car. It was one of those things where the car was really just a main character in the movie. So this week's installment of You Just Made the List, Pal. We're going to talk about our favorite movies where the cars are the main characters. So, Mike, why don't you head us off?
Yeah, I'm going to go with probably one of my favorite. Like, the first thing that came to mind when I was watching Smokey and the Bandit was how the car, the Sheriff Justice's car, kind of degenerates as the movie goes on. He loses his door, he loses the ceiling, he loses his dignity and tires. It's just amazing. But the first thing that came to mind was the Country Squire station wagon at the Griswolds drive on vacation from Chicago to Wally World. And just as kind of a road trip, the car itself kind of just goes through all these incredible situations, and from a dead ant being tied to the car, to a dog being dragged behind it, to jumping over things and just falling in almost amazing adventures this just two wood-paneled station wagon has. And like I said, it makes itself like almost is indelible to the movie as the characters, and that's that station wagon from Vacation. So
Yeah,
that'd be my first pick.
that's a great one. Those that haven't listened to our last Remembers Only podcast, our little side episode, our side show, we just covered the family vacation in the station wagon. So check that out. That is out on the interweb as we speak. So good pick, Mike. So my first pick is going to be the Dodge Charger from Bullet from 1968. Steve McQueen flying through the streets of San Francisco.
Exactly.
It's very rare that that a film is so synonymous with a car, but you say Bullet, and the first thing you think of is that car flying over the streets of San Francisco. It just kind of captures Steve McQueen in like the essence of cool. Like he was at the peak of his powers, and most, I mean, maybe one person that doesn't think that's one of the greatest car chases ever. But that car is just a fixture in the movie, and it really paved the way for similar movies to kind of employ that theme throughout the course of film history. So that's my first pick. There's the Dodge Charger from the movie Bullet. Right?
Very good.
What else you got?
I'm going to cheat a little bit. My second pick is not really from a movie, but it could be. It's a TV show that was very popular, and it was another Dodge Charger, but it was the General Lee and the Dukes of Hazzard. And I had to go with it because it, like I said, being Southern, it was so synonymous with people around here. I mean, the show itself, like I said, I think I watched one episode, and that was to see Denver Pyle, because I love Denver Pyle. Other than that, the rest of the show can go take a nap.
Was Denver Pyle Cooter?
No, he was Uncle Jesse.
Okay, Jesse. Sorry, you're right. Okay, that's
and another relation, Waylon Jennings did the theme song for Dukes of Hazzard, but he also did the Bandit love theme from the Smokey and the Bandit movie. I don't know if you caught that.
Oh wow, look at you go, man!
Yes, when Bandit and Sally Field, another scene possibly left on the editing floor. I'm not positive, but they gave the implied impression that maybe they did some canoodling. I don't know if you didn't pick that up or not. But yeah, the General Lee is the iconic orange Dodge Charger with the Confederate flag painted on the hood, and it made that damn I wish I was in Dixie, little you would hear that all over the town whenever people bought that horn for their own car around here and would play it. And an iconic vehicle that jumped over everything. It got chased by Boss Hogg and Sheriff Pico, Rod Coltrane, or whatever, And just a bad show, but yeah, a car that cannot be forgotten, and is basically the star of that show was the car. So Dukes of Hazzard.
The main characters in that show are all like us, Mike. Just
Cooter.
two good old boys, never meaning no harm. But
you can still visit Cooter's garage outside of Knoxville, Tennessee.
You can.
No way.
All right, so my next pick is going to be a more recent stature here, but we talked about this a little bit on a podcast not too long ago. I'm talking about the '67 Camaro from Better Off Dead from 1986.
Oh yeah.
This was a pivotal plot point in the progression of John Cusack's character. As well as his French foreign exchange student. They bonded over putting this car back together. It's kind of symbolic of his turn, where he his story in the film, where he starts out lovelorn and suicidal, and then he finds love and he turns himself around, and a lot of that's facilitated through putting this car together, and finally beating the Asian kids that have been terrorizing him for the course of the whole movie. One of the guys that speaks like Howard Cosell, but when he fires up that engine there, and they do that great drag race, and it's the first win for him in a long time. It just kind of shows the way that this character's come up, and so there you go. I'm going to go with the '67 Camaro that had been sleeping on a cocoon in his front yard for the longest time. Came back to life, and Lane Meyer saved the day. So there you go. '67 Camaro, Better Off Dead.
Yeah, I think Major Winchester was tired of seeing that insight.
There you go, another tie-in. See how meta we are? That's crazy.
I know, right? Let's see. I got a couple of other. I realize that some of these cars we probably discussed on another episode, but that's why I was kind of going to go more, like movie related and TV show, like the iconic red Ford truck from the Sanford Sun. It was part of the set. Like, they would never show Lamont drive in and out, but the truck was always in the driveway there, and they would actually filmed a lot of scenes in the bed of that truck.
That's right.
Fantastic.
Rest in peace, Lamont, by the way. Sorry.
I know. Lamont Wilson. Rest in peace, yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, Easy Rider. We had the motorcycles, and Jack Nicholson and his little, his little was it a microbus, a Volkswagen bus, or was it just a regular van? I can't remember. It was
a regular van, but
yeah, can't forget those iconic vehicles. But my choice for it's kind of movies, kind of TV, but you could say it wasn't a Monster Go Home, but it was in the Monsters. It was the Dragula car.
Nice. Yeah.
And there was two different vehicles I want to mention from the Monsters that were iconic. Like the Monster Coach, but the Dragula car was an actual drag race car that was created. The same guy did the Batmobile, Barris, I think. And it was in an episode where Herman had to win.
just get it out.
I'm sorry.
Just bite the bullet. Just say it.
Right when I'm saying, I realized how nerdy and how silly I sound. I was a big Monsters fan. I didn't like the Addams Family as much. I was a Monsters guy, so there you go. But it was an episode where Herman had to win back the family car, which he had lost, to some shysters. Right. And Grandpa helped create this vehicle that was basically a coffin drag race car that he used to race this other guy and win his car back. And
Herman,
famous car. Yeah. It was even like in a White Zombie songs. So it's important.
Oh yeah,
if it's
Rob Zombie's a huge Monsters fan too. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's my iconic vehicle is the Dragula.
Well played. That's a great pick. So I got a couple honorable mentions, Mike. I was always a big fan of the Mystery Machine from Scooby-Doo.
Yeah.
It was an iconic band of over 50 years now, where a bunch of kids just got in a bus and caused all these troubles for theme park owners, mostly. Haunted theme parks, of course. They always
there's always smoke pouring out of the van too when they got out. Yeah,
they always foiled those evil plans, but there you go. So don't want to forget Mark Hamill's performance in Corvette Summer from 1973. The Corvette for there. Every kid in grade school wanted a Corvette. I think it would be apropos to talk about Christine, the 1958 Plymouth Fury from the John Carpenter movie from 1983. A little more maudlin, but that rarely is the villain in a film, a sentient car, but this car with the combination of like the backstory of that car and like the horribly timed inappropriate music that plays from the radio when people are meeting their doom, just really sells the concept of this car having its own kind of identity, which I always kind of freaked me out a little bit. But you kind of mentioned this already. That's good. My number one pick is going to be the Batmobile.
So let's fire up the Batman-mobile, go to a taco stand, and eat some feelings, okay?
Okay, I think it's Batmobile.
Batman-mobile.
Batmobile.
That's what I said, Batman-mobile.
You're putting there's no man, it's just Batmobile.
Batman-mobile.
Batmobile. Drop the man.
Batman-mobile.
Batmobile.
Batmobile.
Oh, yeah.
From 1989's Tim Burton. And I say this, all the Batman mobiles are pretty cool. Even the most recent one, like the Tumbler, I guess they called it, from the Nolan Batmans, was really awesome too. But there was something about that 1989 Batman movie that, I think was the first shot of the trailer, which is probably the greatest trailer in motion picture history. When atomic batteries to power, when that thing fires up. And even if you didn't know anything about the movie or anything about the pending release of this film, when you saw that, you knew that Batman was coming, and you had no idea. And that was the most exciting part of that trailer. And to see that Batmobile just kind of conceptualized and brought to life, and driving through Gotham, even the crappy parts where it was like obviously like a model driving through the street and jumping things, but to see that that iconic themed car come to life and be driven around on a really kind of epic movie set, just was really kind of a neat thing to see back
sure,
in 1989. It saved the movie, I think, because that movie has more action with the Batmobile than it does with anything else with Batman doing. But we set our piece on that back in 2022, so we'll just kind of let that go. So, well, speaking of letting things go, Mike, it's time.
Wait, what about the van from the? What about Billy's van from Laser Blast? That
Good point. I didn't think of that one with the big footprint on the side.
That's right.
the tons and tons of potato ole wrappers inside. But There
Yes.
you go. All right, so that'll wrap it up for this week's show, but let's do a little housekeeping before we go. So if you liked what you heard today for some reason, don't forget to check us out on our social media page. That's at Grumpy Nostalgia. On Instagram, you can check out our YouTube channel.
Maybe you'll be the one. Yes.
We don't even care about the YouTube channel anymore, but whatever. If you're curious to see what a dead channel looks like, check us out. You can also check out our website. That's at grumpynostalgia.buzzsprout.com. That's probably the best place to get all of our information. We've got all of our shows here archived there, including little profiles about me and Mike. If you kind of wonder what the hell our deal is, so you can check us out there as well. So, Mike, that will wrap it up for this week's show. Anything else you want to say to the gang before we head out?
I'll just put the hammer down and give it hell.
That's right. Well, Mike, you put together a really good podcast, you sumbitch. All right, so for Mike James, this is Justin, and we'll see you again next time. Sumbitch. I like that scene. Yeah, that scene where he's walking out of the bathroom. And
the toilet paper.
The toilet paper, and that woman comes out to like take it off of his face. So this frumpy, just average-looking girl, and as she walks back in, he goes, "Thank you, young lady," and he goes, "Nice ass."
Nice ass. I know.
I mean, what the hell? Come on. Are you kidding me?
I'm just a redneck in a rock and roll bar. I miss the fiddle and a steel guitar. They're staring at me like a bug in a jar.